Hello and welcome to Sound of Hope News. I'm Liam O'Neill and this is your May 31st China Brief. We have 4 stories for you. Critics of the UN High Commissioner Bachelet's visit to China say she did little to defend human rights. The CCP has closed visa offices in Beijing and Shanghai, not allowing people to leave the country. The question is why? The CCP is easing COVID restrictions on university campuses to try and prevent protests in the lead-up to the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. And finally, the CCP's bluster on U.S.-Taiwan cooperation. On Saturday, May 28th, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, completed her 6-day trip to China, including a 2-day visit to the Xinjiang region. Human rights groups and Western governments criticized the visit for the propaganda benefit it potentially provides. Dolkun Issa, the president of World Uyghur Congress, tweeted on Saturday, "It is scandalous that the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights went to China and East Turkestan without being able to even condemn the government for committing genocide. She has failed her mandate." The United States called Bachelet's visit a mistake, referencing the recent leak of thousands of photos and documents from Chinese public security bureaus in 2 Xinjiang counties on May 24th. The UK and Germany have also voiced their concerns at the visit. The data breach adds to an already large body of evidence of abuse, showing faces of thousands of prisoners who were thrown into camps for reasons such as traveling abroad, studying Islam, or simply growing a beard. Since 2017, the CCP has defended its crackdown in Xinjiang, saying that it is necessary to weed out terrorism. Human rights groups estimate at least 1 million Uyghurs have been arbitrarily detained. Authorities have eradicated religious, cultural, and linguistic characteristics from the region. Rights groups and many governments classify the policy as genocide. Critics said that Bachelet's trip would be taken as a massive propaganda victory for the communist regime. Ryan Asat, a Uyghur human rights advocate and lawyer, tweeted, "This was her moment to really speak truth to power, and I felt she fell so short." Asat's brother is currently in a Xinjiang jail. She added, "So I'm very disappointed in hearing her statement. It was too little condemnation and too many broad conciliatory remarks." Sophie Richardson, China director at Human Rights Watch, commented that the tour didn't challenge the CCP significantly on any facts. It did not commit to an investigation. She further said it gave no information to victims or survivors. Recently, a news report about the closure of the British Visa Center in Beijing created grave concerns for many Chinese planning to flee to the UK amid the COVID restrictions. According to the website of VFS Global, the building of the British Visa Application Center has not allowed visitors to enter since May 23rd, and the Shanghai office is also closed. There is no indication of when they will reopen, causing concerns over the future of these offices. And it's not just the United Kingdom. Other offices that have closed their Beijing offices include Canada, Ireland, Denmark, New Zealand, Italy, and South Africa. Notices at these centers read, "The closure was at the request of the Beijing Epidemic Control Headquarters or was in response to control measures." This program has reported in recent weeks the large numbers of people leaving Shanghai despite promises of opening up. Authorities announced that on June 1st the city will enter its 3rd stage of pandemic control, returning to a pre-lockdown normal state. A 72-hour nucleic acid test report is required to enter public places and take public transportation. Many netizens mocked the term normal state, implying that it was anything but free. The Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi recently said that China has handled the pandemic better than the U.S. To that, netizens teased, "Just open the door and see if more Chinese are leaving for the U.S. or the other way around." According to the New York Times, about 4 years ago, "Awesome My Country" was a popular hashtag among Chinese young people. Now, many of them identify themselves as hashtag China's Last Generation and are studying the hashtag philosophy of leaving. The CCP recently eased restrictions on pandemic prevention measures at universities. Many believe this was done out of fear that recent student protests over epidemic prevention policies may spill over into commemorating the anniversary of the June 4th Tiananmen Square massacre. Protests over lockdowns occurred in at least 4 major Beijing universities. Schools and local government officials were ordered to accommodate students' demands and quell any unrest quickly, Bloomberg reported. Students at Beijing University protested on May 15th the school's construction of an isolation wall, and clips circulating on social media showed Chen Baojian, he's the party committee secretary and vice president of Beijing University, being booed by students, while taking down the metal wall resulted in cheers and applause. This incident caused heated discussions on the internet, but the related clips and topics were quickly deleted. Protests also broke out at China University of Political Science and Law on the evening of May 23rd, and the next day the school was forced to issue a notice allowing students to apply for a leave of absence. On the evening of May 24th, Beijing Normal University students held a march to protest the school's suspension of in-person classes without allowing to go home for online courses. After students put forward a list of demands, the school made a verbal concession. Dong Guangping, a former mainland philanthropist, said, "Every year around June 4th, the CCP is most afraid of students who may rebel. Just like in 1989, students are the most free-thinking people, the most rebellious, and so the CCP is afraid the June 4th student movement makes a comeback." The U.S. and Taiwan are about to announce plans to deepen economic ties, stepping over what the CCP has called a red line. On May 27th, Bloomberg reported that the United States and Taiwan would hold talks in the next few weeks, focusing on strengthening economic cooperation and supply chain resilience rather than traditional free trade agreements. The deal could include trade facilitation, supply chain work, and agricultural trade. These are precisely the pillars of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF, announced by President Biden during his recent visit to Tokyo. IPEF has 13 member countries, excluding China and Taiwan. A bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers wants Taiwan to join, but some member countries have refused to include Taipei for fear of CCP retaliation. Last week, President Biden publicly pledged military support in the event of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, but the White House has since retracted those comments. Biden's remarks flustered the CCP, and it protested Washington's growing engagement with Taiwan. China expert Deng Yuwen said that the CCP likes to draw a line on the Taiwan issue, but it never clearly defines what that line is. The response thus far has been verbal criticism or military plane disturbances. And that's all we have for today. Thanks for joining us at Sound of Hope. Please click like, share the video, and subscribe for more China Briefs. And we'll see you tomorrow.